Hello everyone, Xbox7752 here, and I am here to do my initial prediction video on George Washington versus Napoleon Bonaparte. So let's get started. Alright, we are back, and I hope you guys like my new intros. I will be doing more of the versus ones as the season goes on. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's go down to each weapon and let's compare them. Alright, the official article for the weapons didn't come out today. If it does come out, I will update this video. But as of right now, I will be using weapons from different websites that, well, each website that I go to has the same 3 weapons on each team. So I will be comparing each 3 weapons, and then I will be talking about their tactics in battle, because that's what the season is going for. The season is going for great leaders, how they actually, now they're also warriors. They go in and they attack, but also how are their tactics in battle. So I will be comparing George Washington's tactics in battle versus Napoleon's. But first, let's get started in short-range weapons. First off, we have George Washington's Kalishmar sword. Pronounced it wrong. And versus Napoleon Bonaparte's saber. The interesting about the Kalishmar is it is a bit smaller than the than the than the Napoleon saber would be, by about an inch or so. It's not that big of a difference, but when it comes to warfare, it can be an inch or a foot that matters. So we have to keep that in focus. One thing about the Kalishmar, let's talk about that first, is it is a thrusting weapon. But at the bottom, towards the bottom part of the sword, it has a blocking. So it can thrust. It's kind of like a rapier, except like in the Musketeer episode, but it doesn't have a parrying dagger. And the interesting about the Napoleon saber sword is that it can thrust while cut, which is kind of like Dow versus rapier. But the main problem they had was that the rapier had the parrying dagger. This time there is no parrying dagger, so it'll be interesting to see which one would get the edge. But let's get back to talking about it. But the Kalishmar is only a thrusting weapon. It is not made to cut at all. It could, but it doesn't. My bad. But the Napoleon saber sword, it can thrust while cut, which is which gives it a better advantage. But the good thing about the Kalishmar is that it's very lightweight, much lighter than the Napoleon saber. But But couldn't matter because he could just block it and then stab while hit it again. So it's really It's really very close. I'm sorry. I screwed up. The blade length is longer than the Kalishmar. When it comes to overall, the Kalishmar is dumped over by an inch. But usually it's about 40 inches plus handle, while the Napoleon saber is about 39 inches with handle. But it mostly comes down to the blade itself. So I will just be saying that the blade is longer. I am sorry, I screwed up on that. But pretty much, both swords are very interesting. But I do believe that the Napoleon saber is a lot better because it can cut along with stab. But on another note, the Kalishmar is faster, but it can only thrust. So that is why I'm giving the edge to the Napoleon saber. Alright, in long-range weapons, we have the American, well, not the American brown bess. It was made in Great Britain, but George Washington's brown bess versus Napoleon's Charleville musket. All right. At first, I'm like, I really don't care. They're the same gun, but they're both muskets, for crying out loud. There's nothing different. But then when I start to look in, there are tiny differences, and they do make a bit of a difference. The brown bess holds a 18 millimeter musket ball, while the Charleville musket, I'm probably pronouncing that horribly wrong, is 17.5 millimeters. So the brown bess is a bit bigger. Not, like I said, not that big of a difference, but still, just a tiny difference. Not only that, the rate of fire on the Charleville, I'll try and pronounce it differently, is 2 to 3 rounds a minute, while the brown bess is 3 to 4 rounds a minute. So, like I said, they're very similar, tiny differences. I'm only going to give it to the brown bess because it's a bit bigger. Hang on, let's is it? I want to know if it's much longer than the 60 inches. Okay, so the length is a bit bigger. The Charleville is a bit longer, so it probably has better accuracy the longer the barrel. So, like I said, I don't see a difference. I'm gonna put they're even. So now let's go to. Okay, so now that I've been when I watched the Act 1 of Deadliest Warrior, they tested the cannons. They only tested the Napoleon's cannon. Okay, so it's an 8-pound cannon versus a 6-pound cannon, and Napoleon has the 8-pound cannon, while George Washington has the 6-pound cannon. Again, not that big of a difference, but I believe, from what I saw of the Napoleon cannon, it does. They said that it's a bit more accurate, and it's because it's a bit longer, and plus it's an 8-pound instead of a 6-pound. So it might make that big of a bit of a difference, but I'm gonna, like I said about the there's so I put short range and I put long range. I believe this now is artillery because of all that they're doing now, that there's gonna be artillery weapons like cannons and cannons and catapults, stuff like that. So I'm gonna put this in the artillery section or special weapons, whatever the hell you want to call it. I really don't. I could care, but less. But I'm gonna give it to the 8-pound cannon, really, cause it's 8 pounds. Bit different. I don't care. No, I care. It's just it's a bit different, but it's 8 pounds, so it is a bit longer. I mean, it is a bit more damageable, if that's a word. So now let's go to the my what I will call the war tactics segment. So George Washington's war tactics were guerrilla warfare. He would get a small troops and go and attack the British. So if they would hide in the woods while British brigade went by, and then he'd say attack, and they'd go, and then they'd fire, and then they'd kill all the British. While Napoleon's strategy is like an army strategy, like get a bunch of troops and attack. He never wanted to defend. He always wanted to be the attacker. He was the aggressor always. So it's kind of like what the British were doing. They were just attacking the Americans. They didn't want to defend because they already owned it. So they were just going to be attack until they gave up. So I'm going to give the war tactics to George Washington because he has that hit and run mentality. When the big Napoleon army comes, he'll have that guerrilla forces set up all around this like woodland area or something, and then they just fire, attack, and cut them off by surprise. So that's what it kind of would happen like that in the war tactics. So that's why for instance, the the ending of the American Revolutionary War was a guerrilla tactic. It was a surprise tactic. They didn't expect the giant French ship to come and attack. They didn't expect that because we didn't have ships. We didn't have anything. So they didn't expect a giant French military ship to come and attack them. Like I said, surprise tactics. So that is why I'm giving the war tactics to George Washington. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, who do I have winning Deadliest Warrior, George Washington versus Napoleon Bonaparte? I choose Napoleon Bonaparte because they seem to have the more trained warriors. Because it was a grand army. They were trained. The guerrilla fighters, they weren't trained. They were just regular people. And they were saying, here's a gun, you're going to defend our country. And they wouldn't say, you go out there, you're going to die. No, they volunteered. They didn't have that much training. And I believe that when you have a big army, you're going to be given more, you have a bigger budget. You'll have more better equipped weaponry. So that is why I'm going to say Napoleon Bonaparte is going to win this matchup. And the sim going into 5,000. So I'm going to say Napoleon wins by 2,700. Around 2,700 wins. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to make my shows. I'm a badass. Leave your comments in the below on what you think of my video. If you want me to change anything, tell me. If you like what you saw, tell me. If who you think's gonna win or you didn't like my edge, please tell me. I adore criticism, unless it's very hateful. I hate that. So leave your comments in the below and below, and I'll talk to you guys when the matchup comes. I'll be with Andrew. We'll do an aftermath, unless they do from BlueTeamTV, unless they do another article. Twitter in the description, BlueTeamTV in the description. Check you guys later. Okay, bye.